For this exercise, you're going to create a door trigger animation. So the final outcome will look something like this. If I go ahead and play, you can see the third-person controllers into the scene. I will go ahead and walk the character towards the door. When you get into the boundary, the door will open and then it will close within 5 seconds or so. Okay, and then you can continue to do that again by bring the character back here and have it go into the bounding box, and you trigger the event and you will keep going. All right, so let's start. For this exercise, you will need to download the Trigger Door project and the DoorTrigger C# script. So I already downloaded, and I'm going to delete the part I did, and we're going to start over. Okay? So delete this. Delete the DoorTrigger. And double click on that. Okay, so by default, when you open the scene, if you unzip the project, and you will open the door begin Unity scene. Okay, so I provided a floor, a door object, and a wall. And on step number 2, I ask you to create an empty game object and then have the door be the child. I'm sorry, create an empty game object, name it door, and then bring the actual cube object underneath it. Okay, and then you bring in the character controller. So which I already did that for you up to step number 3. So this is what the beginning of the scene looks like. So character walked to the door and nothing happened. Okay, so you can start from step number 4 if you choose not to create your own files in terms of creating your own floor or creating your own door. Okay, so number 4, create a box collider to door by going to Add Component, Physics, Box Collider. So I'll go ahead and choose the door and choose Add Component, Physics, Box Collider. And we're going to edit the collider so it will cover the area in front and back of the door. Think of this as the boundary where when the character, when it enters to this boundary right here, it will trigger the door open. Right now the trigger value is a bit funny. You can see that it's sitting right at this tiny little bit area. So we're going to edit the trigger, edit the collider. So make this collider a little bit bigger so it will cover at least the door and a bit further out. So when a character, you know, if you remember those automatic sliding door, if you walk within the boundary, maybe a couple feet or so, and then the door will slide open. So this is kind of the similar idea. Okay, so you can edit the collider by click on those dots to drag your collider. So I purposely give it more bounding area in the beginning or in this front side of the door. Okay, so once you're happy with your collider size, then we're going to move on to number 5, create a door animation. So we covered in the previous week on how to create an animation. So in here, let's go ahead and do it. Create a folder name animation. So right mouse click, create folder, and we'll call this one animation. And within the folder, right mouse click, create animation. And we're gonna label this animation door, open, and close. Please try to keep the naming convention as the lecture note I provided. So this create a file on disk called door open and close.nm. Drag the animation onto the door when you will see an animator component will created and a door controller was also created and assigned it here. So if you go ahead and drag the door open and close animation right onto the door object. And now you can see it created this animator controller. So if I click on the door, and you can see there is the animator and there's a controller called door. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to step number 6. Select the door and open window, animation window, and we're gonna choose add property and select transform rotation. Okay, so select the door, go to window, animation, and then we're gonna go ahead and choose to add property. We'll select transform, expand that triangle, and add rotation. We're going to start recording animation by pressing the record button. Animate the door. Okay, so from from 0 to 1 second, we're gonna have the door open, and then from 1 to 4 seconds, we're gonna have it hold in the open position, and from 4 to 5 seconds, we're gonna close the door. So please watch me here. This is your time editor, time slider. You can hold on to Alt key, hold on to left mouse button to drag to change your viewing of the time. So now you can see this a little bit better. So one more time, Alt key and right mouse button to drag. So now you can see by default it gives you only 1 second, which is about 60 frames. So we want to animate all the way up to 5 seconds. So you need to have more time frame showing. So at frame 0, it already set a keyframe for you. So you can drag the slider to, in this case, is frame 60 or the first seconds. We're going to go ahead and use the rotation tool, and we can rotate it on y-axis to open the door. Now you can open as wide as you want. In this case, maybe I'll have it up to, say, something like 92 degrees. That's okay. Then we want to hold the animation. So from from the first second all the way to 4 seconds. So we'll go ahead and drag the slider to 4. And we're going to hold the animation. So we want to add another keyframe by press on this icon right here, like a diamond and a plus. And now I'll add a keyframe at this time. Then let's go ahead and drag the timeline to 5 seconds. And then I want to change the value on rotation Y to 0. Every time you change the value, you can see that it add a keyframe for you. You can go ahead and play back the animation. And this is what the animation will look like. If you're happy with the animation, you can go ahead and stop the recording by pressing the red recording button to turn it off. So now we're ready to create the event. So we're going to go ahead and move on to designing an animator controller. So open the animator window, choose the door open and close state. So we're going to bring out this animator window. To do so, you can double click on this door controller, and that will bring out this new tab. It's called animator. So we open up this animator window. We're gonna choose the door open and close state, which is the default state right here. And we're gonna change the motion to none. So we're gonna start out with no animating to start with. So in the select motion, so one more time, under the motion section, click on this the circle dot right there, and choose the motion to none. And then we're gonna go ahead and change the label to door is closed. So that's gonna be our initial state. Then we're gonna create another state by coming into the animator window right here, right mouse click, choose to create a state, an empty state. And we're gonna call this one door animation plays. So change the name to door animation plays. Oops, sorry, I need to change on this new state. Apologize. Okay, so with the new state, we're gonna change the name to door animation plays, and we're gonna change the motion to door open and close. Okay, now I'm in step number 8. Create a transition from door is closed to door animation plays. So how do you do that? Well, you select that node, right mouse click, choose make transition, and you drag and drop onto this state. Okay, so then we're gonna go ahead and go, after we make the transition, we're gonna go to the parameter tab. Okay, so there is your layers tab and parameter tab right here. So within this parameter tab, we're gonna choose to add a Boolean parameter. So we'll go ahead and choose to click on that add sign right here, and we'll choose to add a Boolean type, so bool. And we're gonna call this one run animation So run animation, make sure you spelled it right. Okay, because we're gonna be calling this function, so it's important that you don't, the spelling are consistent when you call the function. So press enter, I have run animation is created. We're gonna select the transition arrow from door is closed to door animation plays. Okay, so select this transition right here. And then, so this arrow is called the transition. So we select this transition from door is closed to door animation plays. Under the condition right here, in the inspector, press plus to add run animation. It pop up right here because that's the only parameter we have. So when run animation is true, then the program will flow from door is closed to door animation plays. And then we can create this door script. Okay, so door trigger script. So you can go ahead and copy this door trigger script I've provided for the class. So go ahead and drag and drop into the scene. And we're gonna add it right onto the door object. So drag and drop in here. And if you're curious what it looks like, you can open up the Visual Studio and take a look at the script. Okay, it's taking a while to load the script. There we go. Okay, so in here we have the update function. So the door enum. So first of all, you declare a private variable for animator, and it's called door enum. Okay, and then after that, in the update function, it constantly getting a component for this animator. So in this case, it will be the door animator for the door. So on trigger enter, first of all, I need to make sure that back then when the door, I need to make sure I turn on X trigger. Very important. Make sure that you have X trigger is on, so then all this interaction could happen. Okay, so void on trigger enter. So the door animation set bool, then we can set this boolean parameter to true. So when you enter into this door trigger, then you're gonna go ahead and set the door animator to true. Door animators run animation parameter to true. And then when the player exit the trigger, then you're gonna set the boolean attribute to false. So let's go ahead and try this. So if we go ahead and have the character walk to the scene, you can see that the door is open, and then you can keep going, and then the door will close. Now this is kind of a setup animation. We're only using one trigger to create a behavior. If you're a programmer and you're very comfortable creating more interactive behavior and the state machine, you can do more interaction. But this is for more of a simpler exercise, especially for artists, because it might be too much coding and logic. So for this exercise, you can complete this part, and you will need to send in the game executable. Make sure you don't forget the game data, and also work in progress shot and a capture movie. Okay.